So what about sexual harassment? Did you experience that too?
Of course. And in fact, everybody did. In fact, I didn't even call it that because it was like de rigueur, you know, like it's like what.
It wasn't even frowned upon.
It wasn't. And in fact, I had another example during the bond era. I developed fixed income research for Burns Fry, and we hired this guy who was out of New York, and big, burly, young guy, and thought the world of himself. And I started getting comments from other women on the trading floor, and mostly they were very junior. Generally, they were assistants, commenting that he didn't keep his hands to himself, and he would make very rude comments. And one day I walked into his office. I had a report of his, and I had critiqued it, a couple of edits, wanted to talk to him about it. And he made some comments that were absolutely unacceptable. And I fired him. And it was the same issue again. I had to do the him or me thing. And, you know, it is so unfortunate. And what happened was I, again, got called into the CEO's office, and he said to me, Sherry, and this is a quote, he said, Sherry, if we fired every guy that hit on you, there'd be no one left. And that was the mentality.
Yeah.
And I said, Jack, unacceptable. Like, totally no. And fortunately, I won out. And in fact, it was even covered in the Globe and Mail because there used to be a kind of gossip column in the Globe and Mail, and the writer of the column said, "Don't cross swords with Sherry," and
I like that.
used the examples of these two guys that I crossed swords with, that were gonzo, and then you get the reputation of being scary Sherry.
I love that. Scary Sherry. Yeah. But you know what? I mean, it's so important because how does life change? How do things progress if everything just stays the same and people don't, you know, say something or take a stand, right? It's sort of this project that I started. I know originally there was some concern that, Kara's going after men, but this isn't really about going after men. This is just about educating people about what this is like for women, and that we don't like this. Like even the Me Too movement, right? That started off being a movement, a non-profit project to help support women who found themselves in these situations and had no power, right? And were abused in some way. Like you were in luckily a position where you could do that accent, but a lot of the women these things happen to aren't in that position, right? They just sort of have to.
Absolutely, and I know that, and I haven't been harassed by a boss, and that's where the power is so unfair. Yes. And that was part of the whole plan of staying in school and getting a PhD, because like it especially if you're small, you know, if you're petite, if you're attractive, and you go into a man's field and they're bigger, they're louder. You know, you look at CEOs, they're generally big guys, the tall guy, the deep voice, and they use their physical presence as, you know, part of intimidation. Sure. And, you know, I worked for Paul Volcker, he's 6'7". I couldn't talk to him if we were both standing up. You know, like I looked at his belt buckle. So, I mean, you want to, give yourself the chance to be as much of a presence in your own right for your smarts, for your abilities, not for all the other stuff.
Be sure to hit that subscribe button below so you don't miss any Magical Unicorn content.